We went down and played outside of DC once at a church with Kill Your Idols, and it was like a big church hall, and there was a ton of people, and I was just like, holy crap, this is alive. Like, this is alive in them, it's alive in us. It's always been alive for us. But yeah, when it came back, when it was like reciprocated, you definitely could feel it.
Welcome, everyone, to This Was The Scene, the podcast that takes a look back at the late 90s, early 2000 punk scene. I am your host, Mike Doyle. Before we begin, fun fact, the reason I got into Harry Potter is because Jason from Kid Dynamite did an interview with some magazine in like 2002 or 2003 where he stated he loved those books. So I went out the next day, got Sorcerer's Stone, and I've never looked back. I just felt that was interesting just because this whole interview is, the majority of it's based on Kid Dynamite. Dave Wagenschutz is a kick-ass drummer that has graced the punk scene since the mid-90s. He's played in such bands as Lifetime, Ink and Dagger, Kid Dynamite, Good Riddance, Paint It Black, None More Black, and now Cross Keys. Dave is probably one of the best drummers in the punk scene. And this is really cool to get him an interview because I have interviewed Dan Yeeman before about Kid Dynamite and Paint It Black and Lifetime and all that stuff. But this was cool to get Dave's perspective on like the Kid Dynamite days and even like the early Lifetime days all the way up to, through Good Riddance and Paint It Black and No More Black. So it's really I love this interview a lot, and I hope you do as well because I just hope that happens. There's a part towards the end where his daughters come in the room because they want to have breakfast, and I left it in because it's so endearing and just sheds a light on him as a dad. And I think a lot of the listeners will relate to it, so it's just really cute, and so I left it in, and yeah, it's great. I got Dave on the Skype, and this is what we chat about. Does he still go to shows? Playing in Lifetime, playing in Ink and Dagger, finding the singer for Kid Dynamite, the Kid Dynamite artwork, the face-to-face tour, playing in Good Riddance, None More Black, is a Kid Dynamite reunion in the works, and a ton more. Check out his new band Cross Keys, which includes members of Step Ahead, Kill the Man Who Questions, Zoloft the Rock and Roll Destroyer, Halo of Snakes, The Curse, and obviously Kid Dynamite and Ink and Dagger. Their new album, Cross Keys Believes in You, comes out this spring with an announcement about pre-orders coming very soon. If you want to keep up to date on that, just go follow their Instagram at CrossKeysPHL. There's a link in the show notes, and or just start typing Cross Keys and it'll pop up. This week's episode is sponsored by my favorite record label, Iodine Recordings, who have just announced that they will be releasing the 30th anniversary edition of Quicksand's classic debut, Slip, on vinyl. They're presenting the record in several configurations, including a limited deluxe gatefold with slipcase and a deluxe LP with a 64-page hardcover book that includes a foreword by Walter, never-before-seen photos, rare concert posters, original art, and more from 1990 to 1994. The book chronicles the history of the influential album and has commentary from many notable bands, including Anthrax, Helmet, Sepultura, Thursday, Rise Against, Refused, Youth of Today, Thrice, Agnostic Front, Snapcase, Earth Crisis, Cave-In, and more. Complete with several beautiful vinyl variants available for pre-order now and in stores on March 31st, 2023. Iodine has been very busy since returning in 2021 with almost 20 new releases to date from bands like Stretch Armstrong, The Darling Fire, One Line Drawing, Jerome's Dream, Smoker Fire, and more. We can expect a lot more amazing music from them this year. Head over to iodinerecords.com for more or follow them on Instagram at Iodine Recordings. That's all I got to say, so feel free to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with anyone who would love some punk, rock, nostalgia. With that said, let's get started.
It's funny, when I got up this morning, I was like, am I prepared to have a conversation about who knows what? Okay. And I just thought of like my most recent endeavor, right? And I'm like, gee, I don't even know how long I've been doing Cross Keys. Like, do I even know how to answer that? So I'm like on the Facebook, like looking. So it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, this is all focused in the late 90s, early 2000s scene, and it started off focused just from Jersey because I grew up there and was in a band there. And the first 30 episodes were just very specific Jersey local bands, some of them that had probably been together for maybe 2 years in just the scene. And then it expanded to talking to bands and record labels and producers and zines and roadies and all these people outside of Jersey just to get their perspective, because a lot of bands, especially the bands, were influences on us. So I was like, this is going to be so cool. I've had questions since I was like 17, 18 get answered from all these interviews. And I'm like, this is so fucking dope. So that's
I love it.
Yeah. So really going to focus on that time. And I'm going through Discogs where it has all the bands you've been in. And I remembered like a bunch of them because I remembered, I mean, obviously Kid Dynamite, and then I was like, wasn't he in Good Riddance for a minute? And you were, right?
Yeah, yeah. 2, 3 years, 2 albums.
Do you like, I'll dive back more about how you get in the scene and start up from there, but like now, I mean, how far removed are you from music, besides Cross Keys, but like from like the scene or going to shows, or are you still involved?
That's a great question. I do get out occasionally to see music when I'm not playing. And every now and then when it does happen, I'm like really proud of myself. I am. I don't know if I'll look in the mirror, but it's hard to explain other than saying when I wasn't actively playing in a band, I didn't realize how much I missed it, needed it, how much it was basically I don't want to say my everything, being that I have a wife and 3 kids and 2 dogs. You know what I mean? It is me, yeah, right? When I hit pause, whether that was consciously or subconsciously, I didn't realize how much of me was missing. Yeah, so flash forward to the now. I do get out. I see shows, not as often as I would like to, or not as often as and that's all just me. Nothing's holding me back from it. There's nothing in my life that says you can't go out on a Friday night. It's just me. It's just my like, oh, I'd rather be in my pajamas, or I'd rather be doing this, or I'm trying to catch up on this TV show. Like, does that matter? No, not as much as that feeling of connectivity and live music. Yeah, I get out, but I don't get out as often as I'd like to. I am grateful that I have younger gentlemen in the current band
Okay.
who allow me to stay a little bit more grounded to current things. I'll catch a new band every now and then from the band thread, or I scroll through the a couple of different websites weekly, Punk News and No Echo, and try to check out new bands. And every now and then I find one that I love and try to find Chisel. Is that a band? That's a band.
Possibly. I don't really know.
The Chisel. Anyway, I like every now and then I'll find a band. You see how like connected I am. I'll see it. I'll see a picture. I'll listen to the music. I'm like, that's great. And then I'll try to find them playing nearby. And then I'll miss the show because life. And I look back and I'm like, damn it, they were actually in town. So definitely not living and breathing it, but it still means a lot to me to see live music. All else.
Do you still frequent old venues that you used to play? Because you're in Philly, right?
Yeah, I live in the Germantown area of Philadelphia. I have been to the First Unitarian Church quite often, somewhat recently, mostly dropping my daughter off at a class that she's taking there on Sundays, which is hilarious, my oldest daughter.
Amazing.
And then one night I dropped her off at a class and I was like, oh, punks. And then I looked up, I got up the internet, as they say, and I'm like, oh, Soul Glow's playing. How come I'm not like at this show? And because I was dropping my kid off and then going grocery shopping and then picking her up. And, I just missed it. The singer, Josh Alvarez from Cross Keys, he was at the show. And I was on pickup duty with like 4 teenagers.
You're just doing dad duties.
Yeah, just doing dad duty. But yeah, but we also played the church not too long ago. And recently I saw Gel and Ceremony at the church, and that was amazing. I saw the Bronx at the church not too long ago, or maybe that was 2 or 3 years ago. And I have played the church in the last 5 years, which feels just feels right. Just feels like home. Other than that, as far as like Philly venues that I used to frequent all the time, I mean, I don't. The couple places in West Philadelphia, they don't exist anymore. The church has really been the one mainstay through it all that I can think of. The Trocadero is closed. The Revival is closed. I guess JC Dobbs is back open. I went to the TLA to see Sigrid play not too long ago, and I thought, gee, I played here in '92. And it's Lifetime played there with Surgery and Quicksand. And here I am, with my 12-year-old seeing some Scandinavian pop star play. She was awesome.
Are your kids into that like style of music, or are they on their own into their different thing?
It's funny because my 12, how old is she now? My 13-year-old Matilda, she fits all this Kid Dynamite gear that I guess used to fit my wife. And when I say used to fit my wife, she just doesn't wear it anymore.
Uh-huh.
That would be like one of these things where, depending on how that sounded to you, you may or may not want to edit, or you may just want to leave it. You know what I mean?
It's up to you if you want me to edit that.
No. But what I mean to say by that is that we had all this stuff that, from 20 years ago or whatever that she just stopped wearing, and that, maybe recently I found a box full of it. And so my 13-year-old, she'll wear it. She lives in this Kid Dynamite sweatshirt and a t-shirt, but she's mostly into like, well, I love Broadway musicals too, but she's into like Broadway musicals and Olivia Rodrigo, Sigrid. But there's some like punk sounding stuff in that, but they don't gravitate to it as a mainstay. I heard my other daughter listening to something pretty like metal-ish the other day, and I knocked on the door and I'm like, hey, because that's me. That's where I came from. I came from a metal background. And I'm like, tell me what you're listening to. And apparently it was a fan fiction turned into a musical based on a manga. You know what I mean? So she's like, she found it because her favorite character in a show was supposed to be in a sequel series. It got canceled, but then fans made a musical manga heavy metal thing, and she's like, I love this. And I'm like, but you won't listen to Iron Maiden? Not that you won't, but they just don't seek it out. So it's I think it's really interesting how they find different musical styles through different entrants. And then I always think about like what my dad listened to and then what I gravitated to, like my musical journey, right? And why I listened to what I listened to. Did I get this record to keep the door shut in my room? Like the parents are going to open the door when Dealing With It's on. And then I don't have that same relationship. Thankfully, I don't have that same relationship with my kids. Not yet, at least. Or not today.
I feel like that's a good segue to be like how you got involved in the scene, because it's kind of, you dipped back into metal was your thing, and I feel like that's just like a good bridge to start and go backwards, and then how you got started in bands and stuff. So like, how did you get involved in the scene?
Okay. The scene being the punk and hardcore scene. How did I get into that?
Yeah.
I was living in suburban Detroit. I was born in Detroit, and I grew up in suburban Detroit basically in like the 80s. Definitely like mind blown. It's like, for like mind blown by Shout at the Devil, right? So I'm into Shout at the Devil. I got Hit Parader all over the room. Tommy Lee's my guy. Go Back, Get Too Fast for Love. So like I think Motley Crue is like the coolest thing on the planet. Never seen anything like this. They got flames, they got spikes, they got makeup. This is the coolest thing. Getting away from my dad's like disco soundtracks for when he like taught aerobics at the YMCA, or any sort of just like Eagles or rock and roll. Not the Eagles, not to be confused with the Eagles, but the actual Eagles. So kind of got away from that, got into metal, and then discovered a little bit of heavier stuff, Metallica, and through Metallica's love of punk, discovered the Misfits. So it kind of went like Motley Crue, Metallica. Hey, what's this Die Die My Darling? This is like raw and pulsating, and like this is where I'm at. And so that's when I got into like the Misfits and Suicidal Tendencies, and got into punk there. And there wasn't, I had to travel down to Detroit to see music. There wasn't a scene that I knew of in the beautiful suburb of Troy, Michigan, that I spent most of my life. So I would go down to St. Andrews Hall in Detroit, and a club called Blondie's, which was I think still in the city, and I would see local bands. And like I think one of my most memorable shows was the night that the Mother video premiered on MTV, right? Danzig's Mother. Yeah. The night that premiered, he also played St. Andrews Hall. Detroit favorite sons of Detroit, Almighty Lumberjacks of Death. They opened, so we went down to that, got their 7-inch, and Danzig played Danzig songs, Sam Haines songs, Misfits songs, and I was all in, from there. And so that was really the gateway. I guess Motley Crue, Metallica was my gateway to punk, because Detroit had such an eclectic scene. Like that show, one of my favorite, I can recall seeing Cro-Mags on the Best Wishes tour. They played with Destruction, a German metal band, and that was at Blondie's. Here I am, like pick your hair, no hair, spiked hair, long hair, whatever, and pick your music. And it was all just so fast and intense and heavy, and I was like, I was in love.
What were you like? What kind of like a crowd person were you when you saw a band?
I was a get up close and, depending on the melee, right? Like I can recall that Cro-Mags Destruction show. I wasn't a get up close sing along. I was kind of like find a good spot between the front of house speakers. So it wasn't all good. I mean, just thinking about this now, I wasn't like, I didn't want to get all bass. I didn't want to get all guitar. I want to hear it, but I want to be close but maybe not too close to get killed in the pit. And then I think when I moved out, maybe right before I moved out east, or as I started doing, we relocated from Detroit to St. Louis. And when I was in St. Louis, I kind of not gravitated from, but I guess I did, gravitated from punk to more of a hardcore environment. I started helping book shows out in the suburbs and stuff. And I think that's when I became like I was in the pit type crowd person. So I'd say late 80s, early 90s, I gravitated from the wallflower sing-along type to the in the pit, on the stage, off the stage. I think my last stage dive ever was at an Endpoint show at Middlesex. And then when nobody caught me and I landed on the back of my skull, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm gonna go for that anymore. Yeah. So and now I'm the total wallflower. For example, I went to see, was it the Frank Turner show? I went to something at the Fillmore recently in Philadelphia, and the balcony was open, and I was able to sit the front row center of the balcony. And I'm just very happy right now to be in a comfortable chair. Maybe it's my lower back, maybe it's my age, maybe it's just me. But I like being centered. I like being unobstructed, and I like to hear everything. And I sing along. Yeah. And I have no desire to be run over anymore but by an elbow or by a roundhouse. I mean, I guess in the mid 90s too, you had to be careful for roundhouses in New Jersey, didn't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm probably guilty. No, I don't think I'm guilty of that, but
The only other person I think I've asked that question to was Dan Yeaman.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I talked to him and I was like, what were you like in a crowd? He's like, I don't know, I'm kind of just chill. And I was like, that makes sense. And with you, I've seen videos of you playing. I think I saw you play once. It was when Kid Dynamite first got together and you guys played at Coney Island High in New York City. But that's when like no one really knew you guys, so the crowd became like a Kid Dynamite crowd. But I've seen like videos of you playing, and you just have this aggression where it's like the whole time you're like, you look like you want to beat the shit out of the drums. So I was just imagining that energy in a crowd where it seems like music in general is your jam, and just transferring that over in a crowd where you're like, oh fuck yeah, this is like where I need to be.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, if I'm at the Ritz seeing Overkill in '92, I'm in there. I am absolutely in there. 2022. I'm still air drumming along, and I'm still, but something doesn't. Maybe it's humanity these days. Just like I mean, I don't want to bring up the C word, but things are different in the last few years. But even before that, I think I was just like, let's stay on the periph a little bit, like where the pit swells to, and then maybe 6 feet back from that, I still want to be dead center. So I still want to be close, but I need to get up and be a dad in the morning. So I don't know.
So how'd you get involved in like starting to play drums for a band? So because you're in like St. Louis now at this point, and then somehow you get to New Jersey.
Yeah. So flash forward from like 5th grade band with the snare drum, right? And quitting 6th grade band and all that stuff. I didn't really like structured music. I mean, I was in band for like a year and a half. I took like 3 drum lessons, but I'm mostly self-taught. I was in St. Louis playing. I had 2 bands when I was there. We were only there for a couple short years. I had like a more scrappy punk band called Bunny Shrapnel. Not afraid to admit it. And then there was, I think, Remains to Be Seen was like my straight edge band, if you will. And buddy of a buddy of a buddy, Dave Claiborne, who eventually sang for Unbroken, was doing a band called Round 2 in St. Louis. And the bass player Round 2 is a good friend of mine, Chris Anderson. And Chris knew Mike Hartsfield from New Age Records. And so when Mike traveled across country to go out to Middlesex, to go out to the Central Jersey scene, right? This would have been in 91 or so, to see Mouthpiece and Lifetime and all that. He swung by St. Louis and hung out for a little bit. And when he got out east, Lifetime at the time were on there. I don't know how you can count it. Chris Daly, I think, did the demo. Then Ari did the 7-inch. And then they had Dave Rosenberg, eventual Dead Guy drummer, in the band. He was in that band Transylvia before that. They were interested in moving on from Dave and mentioned it to Mike. And Mike mentioned it to the band that he met somebody in St. Louis that was probably crazy enough to move out to New Jersey. So I did. They just like, hey, you want to join the band? And I had never met them. I heard the 7-inch and I was like, yeah, sure. And Rob Fish from Resurrection called me and he's like, dude, are you doing this? I'm like, he was like anxious to help move. When you say kick out of the band, like that's always like the worst thing you hear. But he basically called me. Sorry, Rob. But Rob called me. He's like, I want to kick Dave out of the band. And I was like, I'm confused. Are you in Lifetime? And then, I packed up threw my drawers and some milk crates, threw my red Tama Rock Stars in my minivan and drove out to a confusing land where you turned right to go left. And it was January 1992. And I had never met the band, and I moved in with Katz and his mom.
Wow.
And yeah, joined the band.
I forgot that you were in the band because I was looking through Discogs and it said, you're on background and then the 7-inches, like, what was that?
Tinnitus, yeah.
Wasn't 7-inches that the name of the actual? It was just 2 songs, right, on a 7-inch?
7-inches is quite literally the 2 7-inches released together. So the New Age Record 7-inch that Ari played 99% of the drums on, and then the Tinnitus 7-inch, which was 4 songs on the 7-inch, but we recorded 5 tracks originally, and that came after Background. Before I say we, but I left the band when we started to write like the Hello Bastards material.
Oh wow.
Yeah, exactly. People are like, I love that band. And I'm like, yeah, so do I. Because I do. It's true. But yeah, so do I. That 7-inches was like a re-release of the 2 7-inches together. So I guess I played on half of that material.
Okay. Which Lifetime version did you like better, the early stuff or from Hello Bastards, Jersey Best Dancers?
I mean, the latter stuff is so amazing. It's hard for me to separate my experiences from like listening to the rough mixes of Background and thinking, not that I've made it, but like I made this. Yeah, not that I've made it, because I definitely wasn't in a position, like I made this. Like it was the first time that I'd gone into a studio. Not the first time I got into a studio, but the first time I was recording an album for a label to come out, and listening even to the rough mixes of Background. It was like I can picture where I was in doing so, right? But if you listen, I mean, even the self-titled record that they released a few years ago,
yeah,
that thing rips.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love the 3 full lengths, Bastards, Dancers, and self-titled. I listened to the remix of Background more than I would listen to the original mix, because Politis remixed it for that. I was working at J-Tree for a while, and we did that Somewhere in the Swamps of New Jersey kind of like retrospective thing. And
oh, I bought that. I totally bought that.
Yeah, I listened to the remix more than I listened to it. So, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of the last 3, and the early material is still near and dear to my heart. It can't not be, right? Because I moved. I mean, I'm sitting in Philadelphia. I've known my wife 26 years. I have 3 beautiful daughters, and I don't think I would be sitting where I am right now if I didn't just throw everything to the wind and move out to New Jersey to play in Lifetime. So it's hard to separate the two if you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah. I mean, the earlier stuff is it's like night and day, the sound between the two, because there's a lot, like Ari's like holding out he's like singing more. It's like the notes are longer that he's doing. Oh, it's like so different. And then the new stuff, because I remember when I heard about 7-inches, it was like 98 or something. I'm like, wait, they have other stuff. And my buddy was playing it. I was like, I like this, but it's so fucking opposite of what I'm used to.
Well, and the 2 7-inches are night and day too, whereas the first one is let's just call it the singy hold the outy nody one. And then Tinnitus, which is that other 7-inch we put out, you can hear, if I can remove myself from it, and you can, it's a bridge between the Background and the Hello Bastards sound. And there are parts of Tinnitus that sound raw and, like I'll say Busalil. There are a couple songs on there that sound like the Lifetime that people go, I love that band. And then they go, and then there's Background. And I go, Murt, Murt. But then there are people that I meet that are like, Background means everything to me. I like Bastards, and the rest of it can go you know what I mean? It's like everybody's got their time with a piece, or the first record that they discover, or whatever it might be, which I think is so great about music, is like you can pick it up and put it down. Your band could be around for 20 years, and you find, whether it's when you saw them live or whether it's the first thing you heard, sometimes it's hard to go back and forward in a catalog and find enjoyment with it. I discovered, I'm going to sound like an old fogey, but a couple years ago, I discovered a band called the Menzingers. And this is just a couple years ago. And I forget what I don't want to be an a-hole anymore. I forget which record that's on. But then I get that one, and then I get the one with Anna on it. I'm blanking on the album names. Anyway, and then as I went back into their catalog, like I found them more as like a rock band, and then I went back and found the more punk stuff and was like, this stuff's amazing, but I love the rock stuff also. I don't know if the same for me works the other way. Like if I find a band as a punk band and then they go become more rock stuff, like the Souls, Bouncing Souls, who, speaking of New Jersey and the 90s, I was there. No, well, I was there. That's not what I meant. I was there. I meant I was there for it, like musically, from the 8-Ball crew, like all the way through. And then I think maybe just my own life, I lost touch a little bit. And then recently I kind of rediscovered their most current stuff. And I was like, oh, I like this. It's just funny how music, the journey of music is like, can be tethered to a time and space or to a experience that someone else is going through, I think.
So when you part ways with Lifetime, there's people like I've interviewed people that there was a guy I interviewed and he was in this Jersey band called Nowhere Fast, and then when they broke up, the two of the members went on to form a band with two other guys from Jersey, and it's a band called Midtown. Do you know those guys? You ever hear them?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And he basically, that's like his music career kind of stopped after that. And he was just like, it was funny. We were talking. He's like, yeah, these fucking, it was like all fun. And we were laughing about it. But like back in the day, he was like, God damn it. Like I missed my chance. When you part ways with Lifetime, was there a piece of you like, shit, that was my only opportunity? Or you were like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this shit and make it work for the next decade?
I don't think I thought about it in the terms of, I don't think I thought about it like that necessarily. There were parts of me that were really super excited and parts of me that died inside when I heard Hello Bastards. Okay. So when Bastards came out, yeah, it was a really strange part of my life, relationship wise, right? Music wise. So yeah, there was definitely, if you could say I missed my shot, it was more like heartbreak because I loved those guys. I mean, loved, like brothers in arms, I loved those guys. And 94 just chewed me up and spit me out. I don't know what year that came out. I'm guessing Bastards came out in 95. It's my best guess. Late 94 or 95.
95, September 25th, 95. Yeah.
Holy crap. September 25th, 1995. I could tell you exactly where I lived.
Where'd you live?
Who I was living with, and how I lived on Green Street in the Spring Garden area or / Fairmount area of Philadelphia. 17th and Green? Anyway, I digress. Yeah, that was a tough one. And so was the next one too. And I had gone back to see them play when I think was their final show, air quotes here, at the Medley.
No,
the Melody.
Well, they played the Melody in Jersey, and then they played because they opened for the Souls at the TLA or what's the TLA? What's the fucking God damn it! It's not the church. There's another big venue in Philly.
The Trocadero?
The Troc. They played the Troc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my buddy was at that show.
We at Lifetime will take me off the rails a little bit if I let it. So that was a tough one, Bastards. I think it got easier with dancers, and then the band was done, and I wasn't like, haha, you're done. It was like, I think at the time, yeah, I probably had a few like, oh, they got to go tour Europe. Will I ever get to go do that? And I did eventually with Good Riddance, and I made some choices in there, and life takes you in different places. And did I go to Australia and New Zealand with Good Riddance? No. Did I put my eggs in another basket at the time, thinking it might work out musically? Yes. And did it? No.
Oh, we'll get there.
You know what I mean? Oh boy. And what is making it, right? Like,
well, what do you define it? What did you decide to define making it as?
I got it made right now. I got me and four dudes. I always like my daughters are like, me and this person. I'm like, it's this person and I, because I'm a jerk. But I play in a band with 4 lovely fellas right now, and it's humming with my life. I love what I do for a living. I feel like I play a mostly positive contributory role in the raising of my children. I have a band that I'm playing the music that I love the absolute most, which is, melodic punk music. We play some fast stuff, but it's not all about the speed, right? I still get to beat the living crap out of my drums on a weekly basis, and I need that, or I think I would perish and go into the West, if you will. So I got it made right now. I mean, maybe I went to bed at like 2 a.m. after going to Brooklyn and spending like $800 on bridge tolls to play to 50 people. But like, guess what? When I played, I had a blast, and I saw the half a dozen folks that I haven't seen in years. I mean, I got it made, right? I saw Matt Hawk and Damien from The Explosion and Mr. Walsh, and my friends Maddie and Jana were like driving back from Rhode Island and came down to the show, and I got to see them for a few seconds. And maybe the food wasn't excellent. Maybe I made a poor choice on my I think that's big for me. It's the quality of the food during the shows that we play. Like, right, where am I going to eat? How good is it going to be? but I got it made. And I'll joke with the people that I work with professionally now that my best job ever was Good Riddance, because I didn't work. That's all I did. I didn't have for like 3 years, I didn't have an additional job. I joke that my job was to tour the world. I walked the Greyhound when I was at home, and there was a Fresh Fields, which eventually turned into Whole Foods on South Street where I lived. And I would walk there and I would get Jamba Juice for my wife, and I would hand deliver it. And I would say, I'm going to go home and play Nintendo. And that was my job.
That's when you were in Good Riddance.
Yeah, that was when I was Good Riddance. And that is as far as making it. I never wanted to be like the Rolling Stones, right? I was like, all I ever cared about was having enough money to buy drumsticks and playing music. And I got it made right now. I got to practice on Tuesday, and I'm playing a show on Friday. And that show, I'm playing with Dan Yeaman's other band, Bitter Branches. And I'm like, so here's me and Yeaman, right? It's 2023, and I'm going to finally hang out with him for a minute in a West Philly house show. So I got it. For me, I got it made. But yeah, not having to go to Punch a Time Clock was pretty nice too. In the 2001, that's pretty sweet.
So basically, it's like 94, you are out of Lifetime, and then between 94 to 97 or 98, when you do Kid Dynamite, you got Secede, Up as Dave, and Ink and Dagger. What are all those? What is all that?
Well, Secede, hilariously, Discogs, Secede is a song from Tinnitus, which is the second Lifetime 7-inch.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so that's 94. Up is a song from Background, which is weird. But when I left Lifetime in 94, in 95 I played in a band called Anonymous with some lifelong friends now in Philadelphia. And we did a couple 7-inches. We did a split 7-inch with a band called Anasarca. We did a self-released 7-inch, which was fun. We went down to DC to record that, which was really cool. And so I did Anonymous in 95. And then in 96, we started Ink and Dagger. And that's when the life shifted into maybe that's about halfway through my life and shifted into this next gear, right? So I moved out, did Lifetime for three years, 92 to 94, did Anonymous in 95. And 96, Dagger, we did that first 7-inch and maybe a comp song. And then we toured. We went all the way out we went from Philadelphia to Victoria Island, out in there, BC. I mean, we toured the whole U.S. in 96 with Prima. I would say it's a blast, but I mean, I would want most of that tour to not be on the public record, I think.
Why?
Because it was part of our mystique, and it was part of the time in our lives where, at least in my own life, where I often speak before I think, and a lot of my actions were the same way on that tour. I think that whatever we were calling ourselves at the time, vampire punk or psycho, you know what I mean? Like whatever approach we were taking, which was like, are we nice guys, or are we here to like, I think it was to call back to the Almighty Lumberjacks of Death. I think they used to have a thing called drink beer and break shit, or maybe that was Ugly But Proud. Anyway, I wasn't drinking, but there were shenanigans, lots of them, and most of them I think were captured on video because of the people that were touring with us. But anyway, '96 was like a wild, wild, wild year, and near the end of it, I packed up my bags, was living back in somewhat the same neighborhood that I was when Bastards came out, different place. I packed up my bags for a little bit, left Ink and Dagger. Of course, it was like because of some like personal relationship drama with like Sean. Left the band, and I moved back to St. Louis for a couple months to kind of like to kind of steady myself. Like my dad even came out and helped me move back. I was like, it's very toxic. I don't think I thought of using that word at that time. Toxic Waltz, I believe, was a song by Exodus. That would be the only time that I would use that word at that time. But if I could look back on it now, I'd say that's very toxic. I moved out, moved away from the East Coast, moved back to St. Louis for a couple months, got my footing under me. And then when I moved back to Philadelphia in late '96, that's when the pieces of the puzzle fell together. I moved in shortly after that. Dan was looking for a drummer for Kid Dynamite. We got together, hashed out 3 years of feelings, if you will, and then started playing without a singer for Lord knows how long.
Can I ask you a really quick question though before you jump into that?
Yeah, do it. Yeah, go for it.
I just find it there's something I don't want to skip over because I think it's a big piece of the puzzle. When you're in St. Louis, what did you do to find your footing?
As you know, that's a great question. And I don't know if sometimes when I reach for a memory, it's not there. And I can see myself moving out back. I can see myself living there just without no band, no relationship. Did I get a job? I must have gotten a job. Maybe I went back to Kinko's. You know, if Kinko's was still a thing. I think it was still a thing. Yeah, it was that FedEx didn't buy them until much later. So Kinko's was definitely still a thing. I went back to that because that's what I was doing before that, probably. And then I think it was just getting some breathing space. I didn't have like any I didn't go down to the Krishna temple. I didn't go to yoga. I didn't go to like any self-help. Like, I'm not knocking any of those things. What I'm just saying is I don't think I took a journey other than to just give myself some space and say, I have no relationship, neither band nor personal. And, you know, maybe just evaluating I said maybe because I don't really even remember, like evaluating what it is I wanted to do. But I think I truly had found my home and my family, for better for better. You know, in a family you don't love everybody. Well, you love everybody unconditionally, but that doesn't mean you like everybody.
Yeah, you don't have to hang out with them all the time.
Yeah, no, you know, I mean, you got a couple cousins and uncles that you're just like, oh God, you know, but you'd still go to bat for them maybe if the crap hit the wall. So I came back because I was like, I needed to. I was just pulled to. It's funny because living out here now, my wife always says, you know, people move away from Philadelphia, but they always come back, is one of the things that she says. And I'm not from Philadelphia, but I was drawn back to. So I just came back. I think it was just time. I forget how long it was. Maybe it was like 3 months. It must have been. Yeah, because I moved into my place on South Street, I think in like September of '96. And I moved out of my house right after the Ink and Dagger tour of '96, which would have been in the summer, because that's the only time we toured then. Really was like, okay, June, July, August, when school was out is when you went on the road in the '90s, I guess, is at least that was my experience.
Well, it sucks. I mean, touring in the winter just blows because it's just cold and icy and scary.
Yeah,
and dark.
Might have more college kids, you know, depending on the town you play. But if it's the college kids that are in the bands, or the high school kids or whatever, then yeah.
I find it so interesting that because I'm just looking at what happens after you get back in these releases and these bands. I mean, it's crazy that you just did it and came back to Philly, and then on paper it just blows up from these bands and these albums that everyone still loves, and I think that's just crazy.
Yeah, I don't. I don't like do the higher power thing, but so I don't. Sometimes when I'm like, I feel blessed, I feel lucky. I don't. It's just I just fell into it. I mean, like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're also a fucking monster drummer, dude. So let's like not dismiss that.
Well, I say thank goodness. I think thank goodness for New Age Records, because as crazy as all that time was, right? It brought me out here, and I found my home. I found my home. My home is that scene, whether I'm actively contributing to it or, I did take a paper flyer the other day at a show at that gel ceremony show. They were handing flyers out at the end, and normally I'm like, save a tree, as if like I'm some big environmentalist, and I'm like, but I try to be. But I took one. I took it home and I looked through the whole thing to try to find a show and then find a band and like go on and listen to them. And then I don't know what happened, and I never did anything with it. But like there was a moment there where I was reaching for the 90s, where I was just like, I'm going to go and see more music. And no, I'm going to get in my pajamas as early as I can. Lay on my bed and watch Rings of Power. That's what I'm going to do. So, but yeah. We joked with the Cross Keys. We joked about how to market. I'm using air quotes that you can't see. The newest release. And so they made this, like, what they call it, a beauty label, right? Like ex-members of or members of. And I said, can we just do one of those like paper strips that goes all the way around the LP? Like sometimes I see them on imports. I think there's a name for it. It's like a 2 or 3 inch wide paper strip that goes around the LP. And what we should do is we should list every band that any of us have ever played in. And because it would be funny, because like who really cares? But like I get it. And like if you're going to make an investment in someone, that you also want it to at least not lose money. So I believe our newest record is being released between 3 labels. One is our own, our guitar players, and then 2 other labels. And I won't mention them only because I only know one of them. And if I don't mention the other one, I'm going to sound like a dodo brain. So I won't even say it. But we have a sticker on it that says, like, if the first draft said ex and current members of. I was like, what do you mean current members? You have Ink and Dagger listed here. What are you talking about? And so we did all this hemming and hawing about how to market the record, because, you could just put it out and just be like, whatevs. But
I mean, it is going to bring attention to it, though, if you see the names. People are like, oh, I mean, that's going to make people check it out. Definitely.
I think it's informative. Yeah, like I will try to give, for me, I try to give it everybody a fair shake. Like when I go through No Echo, I'll look at a new band. It'll be like for fans of, and I'm like, okay, because I had to Google that FFO, right? For fans of. Is that how they do it? Yeah, FFO. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? And I'm like, okay, got it, for fans of. And
I didn't even know that, actually. So now I've been educated.
speaking of acronyms, this show coming up Friday that we're playing, there's a no one turned away for lack of funds. Apparently that sentence can be acronymized down to no one turned away for lack of funds. And we didn't even know what it meant. Everyone's like, what does this mean on the flyer? So they're basically like, it's a house show and you should come. And if you only have $5, you should still come, because.
So we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, because music's all that matters. Is it all that matters? So it is.
Yeah,
actually,
100%.
So,
it's all
absolutely. Boy, 2,000%. Yeah.
Besides
so,
your wife and your daughters, they're important too for you.
And feeding the dogs, like it's all the time. I'm like, the dogs, they can't get up and feed themselves, ladies. This guy's been staring at me for 2 hours. Can you help him out? But yeah, I mean, Kid Dynamite to Good Riddance. I mean, even playing in what did I do after that? The Higher Giant. Oh yeah, Painted Black. Well, when I was doing Good Riddance, I was playing in Painted Black and Number Black. At one point in time, I was doing 3 bands, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, maybe some of my decisions, but like first Painted Black record, okay. Paradise, oh, man, I still listen to that. I love that. The Number Black stuff I did, I'm so proud of.
Yeah, I love that record.
Good stuff I'm really proud of.
Real quick, if you're looking for an explainer video or someone to do motion graphics for your company, check out my company, drive80.com, and you can email me at mike@drive80.com for more info. That's all I got to say. So now back to the interview. Well, let's jump into the Kid Dynamite thing that you were talking about. It was very well known when you guys started Kid Dynamite. There was this thing like, yo, Dan from Lifetime's doing this band, and they don't have a singer yet, and there's this demo tape going around that people are auditioning and all this stuff. And I actually talked to Dave from Boxer, and he had mentioned that he auditioned too. So I was like, wow, I didn't even know this. Or he was going to. So there was just this cast of characters that are like potential vocals for this. So let's go back to that because you would start saying like we're in a band with no singer. So what did that look like for you?
I mean, it's, I'm not. It's not something I've ever done before that I can recall. Dan had. I mean, he just had the songs, right? He was like Lifetime was done, and he was, the guy's built to riff, and he had fully realized song to the point where did we do the demo without Jason? We had definitely demoed everything that we had, which was basically the first record. But we also did a demo tape with Jason. I don't know. The highlights that I recall, I can recall 3 people physically trying out. One joined the band, Jason, who was previously in that band Bound.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. He was in a band Bound, and then he did another band with the same drummer from Bound called, if I pronounce it poorly, I apologize, La Gracia, which I just absolutely love that stuff. That was post Kid Dynamite. That stuff came out, but that was with Dana from Bound. She played drums on that. And then Thomas, Strike Anywhere, which it's gonna sound weird, but isn't it so amazing that he didn't join the band because they gave us Strike Anywhere by, I'm not responsible for that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like, what would the world be without those records? I love that band. And so he tried out Inquisition, right? It was like, well, it was this guy from this band trying out. So Jason from Pound, Thomas from Inquisition, and God, if he hears this, he'll kill me because I can't remember his last name or his first name. Was it Rob? Undertow? Is that the name of the band? Look up Undertow. Who sang for Undertow?
And Undertow band. Oh yeah, straight edge hardcore band from Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the singer, John Pettibone.
Oh, John Pettibone. Why would I go with Rob?
There's no Robs in the band too. I'm like, where's
no Rob in the band? Excellent. I did a great job. Well, see, that's how memorable his audition was.
Oh shit.
No, I'm totally kidding. But did he play in while you got the internet open? Was he in 9 Iron Spitfire as well? I think he was in 9 Iron. If he wasn't in 9 Iron, he was.
Yeah, he was in Undertow, 9 Iron Spitfire, Himsa, I am the Thorn, the Vows, and Harris.
I tell you what, John Pettibone. I don't know why I said Rob, because I was thinking Unbroken. There's a Rob in Unbroken, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't matter because I barely can remember last week, but I can picture his face. I remember the tryout. It was just, there wasn't enough melody, right? If we were going to tip the scales and become, how Kid Dynamite kind of brought both sides of the coin. If we were going to only be ferocious, John may have worked out. I love that band, 9 Iron Spitfire. I still have a 9 Iron Spitfire shirt. Ink and Dagger played with 9 Iron in '96. Anyway, and that's probably maybe one of the reasons that somebody whose name I've forgotten now, embarrassingly, and you feel free to do what you want to with all that. I mean it. I don't care. It's not a big deal to me.
Yeah, I feel like there's really no way for me to cut that up to make it where you're like, so John Pettibone. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, that guy. I'm like, well, that's just gonna sound weird. Where you're like, oh yeah, this dude.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of things I regret in my life, and which is why we didn't really tell a lot of the stories of '96. But like, that's one of my highlights is meeting that crew, if you will. When I say crew, I'm not referring to it like some gang, if you will. But like when I met the group of folks out there in the Northwest, we played the Velvet Elvis in '96, Ink and Dagger, and 9 Iron Spitfire. And yeah, still friends with some of them today who I remember by their first name. Anyway.
So they audition.
Pettibone, Thomas, and Jason. Jason was the pick. And they were off to the races. I think that they wanted to get the J-Tree guys wanted to get the record out fast. And we had to have the art printed before the record was done. So it was really weird because typically creatively, you get a little bit more freedom in the studio. What I mean by that is like if your lyrics are already printed, do you stick with them? Or do you change them because you feel like you need to? Or if the order of the songs are been preordained because of a demo, but the end product speaks to something else, you're kind of stuck with it because, at the time being distributed by Mortem, J-Tree being this established record label, you had dates and deadlines, which I eventually became part of that small machine when I worked there. But we had to get that thing out. So we got everybody in the studio. And we got that thing knocked out. Yeah, I forget what the question was, but
It's funny you're talking about that. You had to get the artwork done first, because the artwork of that, actually, the artwork for all you guys' records is dope, but that one was really fucking good. So it's funny that that was just the order of everything going on, where you're kind of like, shit, but then you get this like killer album artwork.
Yeah, we had people pulling for us, right? We had
Oh yeah,
we had
everyone was.
we had the luck of not the luck. I mean, Lifetime had established themselves. Kid Dynamite played relentlessly, not only in the moment on stage, but like everywhere and as often as possible. It was a weird time where like I think our demo release show with like on a cassette, we like played the Trocadero, which is like a 1,200 seater. You know what I mean? Like just time and space. Like like that's not the way it works. Like nobody, like, but it did, and it did, and there you go, and yeah, Jeremy Dean, who did the artwork for our 2 full lengths. I still really like the aesthetic of both those records. They seem there's a art show going on at the moment in South Jersey. No, East Jersey, East South. Where's Stockton? Is it Stockton that's over by AC?
Oh, I have no idea. Let's use the internet. Stockton.
Somebody sent me a link. Well, somebody in the band, one of my less seasoned band members, right, who's still somewhat connected, still more connected to the scene than I am, said, "Hey, there's this art show going on that's like art of Jersey, the South Jersey and Pennsylvania in the mid '90s. It's called Shortest, Fastest, Loudest, and I think it's at Stockton." Here we go. Spaces. This is how Cross Keys communicates in the. This is an advertisement for Google Chat. We use Google Chat.
We want your data.
We want all the stuff. Here it is. So Stockton University near AC.
Oh,
That's weird.
I'm looking at the town Stockton. I think that's what I was looking at.
No, Stockton University. Yeah, it's if you get there when you see the artwork for the art show, it's hilarious, right? It's got like the black cat. It's more of a Lifetime-y black cat, but it's got the lightning bolts. It says shortest, fastest, loudest. I looked it up. I'm going to try to make our way out there, but it looks like it's got some flyers, some posters. What are they coining this thing as? Art of South Jersey and Philly 90s punk rock or something like that. Anyway, shortest, fastest, loudest. I'm going to try to make it. I'm going to try to make my way out there.
That's cool. Yeah, it's on like the leather jacket, the studded leather jacket with no sleeves.
Yeah, Philly shreds. Yeah.
That's cool.
We were just as comfortable, Kid Dynamite, playing the Kill Time or any place like any house show, any West Philly show than as we were playing the Trocadero or a bigger stage, and got lucky early on to share those stages with like Good Riddance and AFI and Face to Face and Alkaline Trio. And
people went fucking apeshit for you guys. Do you remember the first show where that happened and you were just like, what the fuck?
I don't know if I could put my finger on the show. There were a couple ones that we went down and played outside of DC once at a church with Kill Your Idols, and it was like a big church hall, and there was a ton of people, and I was just like, holy crap, this is alive, right? Like this is alive in them, it's alive, and it's always been alive for us. But yeah, when it came back, when it was like reciprocated, you definitely could feel it. When my wife joked, she's like, we almost put in a second phone line at the time because I was doing a lot of the logistics, I guess, for the band. Probably too much, if you will. A little pressing hard on the go button.
Yeah, I always thought that you were like the one who was doing the business for the band.
Yeah, totally. Whether it was bad business or boss baby business, it doesn't, like looking back, when I say I've got it made now, I got it made because I'm not band dad anymore. Andrew, who shared this show with me, Andrew's band dad, and I'm really happy for the most part to not have any opinion on how to pack stuff and where the shows are, and I just say yes. I look at my calendar, and if it doesn't interfere with a ballet performance or a theater performance, you know what I mean? I'm just like, yeah, I can do that. Let's go and do it. Let's play, because that's all I care about. And I don't have to do the business, because it's not that I was bad at it. I was just really passionate about it, and maybe my passion overshadowed everybody's goals at some point in time. At least Jason, who was just like, that's funny. I found the copy of Rum Shaker the other day. Do you remember Rum Shaker?
Oh yeah, All I Want to Do.
Yep.
Yeah, zoom, zoom, zoom. Right?
No, the it's. Are you kidding me?
I'm dead
I don't.
serious. I might cut that out because people are like, this guy's a fucking moron.
I love it. No, no, no. Rum Shaker was a fanzine. I don't know what time. What? Yeah, Rum Shaker was a fanzine. Yeah. Do what you want to do, baby.
Oh, I'm keeping
This is
that
your.
in.
This is your
I'm
world.
gonna sound like a moron.
It's your universe. I'm just living in it. But Rum Shaker was a fanzine. Eric, I believe, was the fella who did it, and it was like Jason's. I left the band. Kid Dynamite. The kid left the band, and the Dynamite exploded. I think was like the headline or something, and he was just talking about how like I didn't really know these guys. I joined the band. Dave and Dan had history, for better or for worse, and Dan, he was a professional always, right? He had his clinical work. I don't know if I've coined that right, but he had his
He's a therapist, right?
yeah, he had his work, and all I had were drums. It's not all I had, but like it's all I gave a shit about, right? And so Jason was in school, so you had a younger fella in school, and you had an older fella who'd been through the school and found his niche, and you found me who was just rabid for, like, I guess it would be making it, right? As you called back, as I call back to, like, what does making it look like? It was just like, well, this is all I want to do. It's all I want to do, so I'll do anything within reason. I don't know if I was that crazy, but Jay and Dan might say I was. That's fine. I'm okay I'll eat that. But just anything I needed to continue to do the band, you know. I think we were setting out with planning a tour with Kill Your Idols when the face-to-face offer came through, and everybody was kind of like, eh, and I'm like, no, like we have to do this. The cooler part of that tour, not that playing with face-to-face wasn't amazing, is that we got to know and play with the Alkaline Trio guys in infancy, right? Like, imagine the Alkaline Trio opening for one of my bands. That's hilarious.
That's so awesome. Wait, that's when like God Damn It was popular, or maybe I'll Catch Fire was like.
I think it was right there. It was 90, yeah, 90, probably 98, right there between those, maybe right between those two. But God, man,
And I remember hearing something or reading something. I think I brought this up with Dan. Like Jason, I think he said you guys had to play a 30 or 40-minute set or something like that. And I think that was you guys. And he's like, yeah, my voice just couldn't handle that much time.
it was brutal. The first show of the tour, I think, was, maybe it was Philly. I forget. Whatever it was. It wasn't. We were like 5-6 shows. Like our two bands, Trio and us, joined the face-to-face tour for just a hot second, and they were running like a pro. They had like a pro setup, for better or for worse, right? They had a stage manager, tour manager, all this stuff, and we had our set time, and we usually played like 20, 25 minutes. We just ripped through 40 songs in 20 minutes, and that was that. And we did it the first show, and somebody from their entourage, the face-to-face entourage, freaked out. I was like, what are you guys doing? And we were like, what do you mean? And then that was the conversation, is like, you have this set time. You have to fill out the entire set time, because the show, it's not a punk show. It's a touring rock and roll show, right? There's a bus call, there's a stage time, and you can't have, as they explained to me, you can't have like an hour downtime between bands because you finished early, because face-to-face doesn't go on until this time, no matter what. And I was like, really? Oh, it makes sense to me now, right? I didn't know, but like I understand the mechanics of a smooth show, and I can appreciate it from a fan standpoint. If there's too much changeover, or if you have to wait too long for a band, or sometimes a band will end a little early, and I'll just look at my watch and I'll be like, okay, I know when they're not going on at 9:55, they're going on at 10, which means I have a little bit more time. So yeah, we basically had to like play a song, tell a joke, tie a shoe, take a drink, play a song. It was brutal, but it was a blast for me, at least. I mean, it wasn't the typical Kid Dynamite. That's the kind of thing that pulled us right from that, whatever you want to call punk ethos at the time, and like making it, if you will. Jason's like, I'm not really interested in like a 45-minute set time. Like, that's not us. And I will admit, that's not us. That wasn't Kid Dynamite. But what are you gonna do?
Well, also, like, I mean, were the crowds your typical crowd you're playing for, where they were all getting a normal Kid Dynamite crowd where they're jumping on stage and going nuts, or did they not know who you were?
Um,
Because I feel like that would work against you because you can use the crowd to pick up where you don't want to sing and save your voice or space it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Would that help?
I don't know I don't know if I recall. I remember when we went to Chicago and played the Metro, we opened and Alkaline. We flip flopped with Alkaline. They played. That was their town. I think the Philly show was good. I forget where else we played. Detroit. We went back to Detroit maybe on that tour and played St. Andrews. You ever go to those shows and you can tell, like, you go to like a small festival and you can tell who's there for who, but they still are like respectful. Like nobody was throwing beer bottles at us, right? It wasn't your typical Kid Dynamite show, but it also still, we weren't the complete unknown at the time. So it had I think for lack of an actual memory of it, just if I had to cast like this, I think was the vibe was like, it was all right. Yeah. It wasn't enough to ride out 45 minutes because there just isn't, right? I think we might have played 45 minutes when we played our like last two shows, when we played This Is Hardcore and that House of Vans show back in whatever year that was. Like, I think we played as much material as we could to say, thank you so much for giving a rip and singing along. Here's as much as we can do without falling over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was probably pushing it. Couldn't go out and play 25 minutes and be like, all right, thanks. I'd be like, wait a minute, what?
So when Jason leaves, because I've seen the documentary, I used to own it.
Oh, okay.
4 years in one gulp, and which is great because that's the first time you meet like Dave Haas and how do you say his last name? It's Haas, right?
Yeah. Like Jaws.
And he's so fucking funny.
Yo, he is.
Yeah, he's so fucking funny. And the other guy was your roadie. That's like that was like one of my favorite parts of that DVD. I was like, these guys are hilarious. I can't imagine touring with
Colin
them.
and Dave. Yeah. You can see I'm laughing and Dan rolls his eyes, right? I mean, he might laugh every kid. It was more like there's a great dynamic in the band at that time with who was the band dad, but who was the business guy, and then the hilarity of Dave and Colin, just like constantly the hijinks and the hilarity. Man, I probably should watch that again.
I was rewatching a little bit before we started talking. I was like, oh wow, I remember this because Jason does it. He did the whole thing and he edits it because he went to film school. I remember that, or like hearing about that.
Yeah.
Because I read when you guys broke up, he was talking about, because that's when it's all fresh and they're talking about the band. He's like, yeah, I was just on a different mindset. I was in school. I'm gonna do film stuff, and then he does like No More Black, and people were like, what the fuck? Like you didn't want to do this. So when he leaves and you're like, shit, man, like this thing is popping off and now we have to like end it. How does that get you into good riddance where you're like, okay, cool, that this isn't dire?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was some discussion about a new vocalist, and I honestly I couldn't if I was in a room with Spider and Dan, it'd be interesting to see, or if I wasn't, if we were all individually interviewed about, did we vote? Did someone just say, I don't want to do it without Jason? I think I would be in the mindset that I didn't want to do it without Jason. I think that would have been my camp. It was just like, it would not be Kid Dynamite without Jason. I think that could we have put a new vocalist in the band? Not put a new vocalist, but could we have gotten found another singer and then continued to have fun and play music? Would it have been as successful? I have no idea, right? But I think that we could have done that. I don't know why we didn't, other than I'm thinking we didn't do it because it wouldn't be Kid Dynamite anymore. And then that was not your question.
Well, no, I mean that does answer like a good question that I didn't ask, but like that leads into good. Actually, it kind of does help go in the
good
direction of the
riddance.
question. Yeah, because you're like,
good riddance.
should we keep this going? Should we get a new singer? And the decision was no. So then you're left like, oh, I have no band now. So what do I do?
Yeah. And so 99, blah, 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 2000. I guess I was still working. I was still working at Kinko's at the time, and which is why Kid Dynamite went on tour in the summer, and I'd take my time off. And so when the Dynamite exploded, if you will, and the Kid left the band, I don't know where the gap, I don't know the timing. I just know that the guys in Good Riddance who we had toured with and that were, I think Russ was more tight with Dan than we were with the rest of the band. I mean, I think we definitely connected and had a blast with them when we played. Just trying to think about the main connection. I think it was maybe Dan and Russ, but somebody asked, I don't remember it as vividly as Lifetime. Like, I don't remember like Rob Rob Fish didn't call me and ask me to join Good Riddance, but they reached out, and I think at the time they had Dave Ron, right, from Lagwagon. They were on that Phenomenon of Craving EP. So Skippy, Sean had already left the band, and they were in this space where Dave wasn't going to be their drummer because he just wasn't. It worked for the EP, but they needed a solution. And Kid Dynamite had broken up, so I was like, I guess I could learn this stuff. It's the first time. Funny story. It's the first time I played drums with shoes for Good Riddance, because I discovered that it gave me more control over the pedal, and because Good Riddance played a different style of music. It's same but totally different, right? let's call it what it is. I just like evolved my playing style to try to match all that. So I learned a bunch of stuff. I remember going down, they were like on the Warped Tour one year, and I went down to see them somewhere outside of DC, and I went on stage to sound check just for fun, because they were like, hey, why don't you come out and sound check? And so we did, and I was playing everything at the speed of the recording, and they weren't executing the songs at quite the same tempo live. And they're like, yo, can you slow down a little bit? And I was like, yo, could you have told me that 6 months ago, when now that all my blisters are healed, like trying to get myself up to the level of speed that I thought I was gonna, and not that we didn't like just blaze, but sometimes, sometimes I play a little faster than I'm supposed to, if you will. When I say air quotes again, supposed to, but as a funny story, like I blazed Last Believer, and they were like, yeah, we want it to be a little bit more in the pocket. We found that it resonates better. And I'm like, okay, cool. I could take it down a bit. Now that I've gotten it this fast, I can certainly slow it down, or try to at least. So, but yeah, I guess, Kid Dynamite ended. The guys asked. I think, and she wasn't my wife yet, close to. Maybe the wedding was already planned, but Martino, I was like, let's do this thing. And it looks like I might spend a chunk of time out west or on the road. She's like, get out of my hair. Go for it.
And that's a whole different experience too, because were you guys touring on a bus, or were you guys in a van?
Yeah, not in a van. Good Riddance toured the States in a RV. They would rent an RV from like Cruise America. They'd have the trailer. So I was like, this is cool, until I had to drive the damn thing, and then I had to get my commercial driver's license or whatever. No, I didn't have to get that, but it was definitely an experience trying to make sure I didn't drive the RV with the trailer down the one-way street and get stuck. But yeah, so they had an RV in the States. In Europe, when we went to Europe, 2001, that was like the year I got married. We went, Good Riddance played. We toured North America. We flew over in the middle of that, played Reading and Leeds. That was just in a small vehicles. But then when we went back after September, October, when is my wedding? November? Wait a minute. Yeah, December. Jeez. Anyway, Europe was in a bus, which was, that felt like making it at the time, and it certainly was, right? It certainly was to go to Europe and to travel Europe in a, whatever they call them, Starline or Freeline, I don't even know what they are, but like an actual tour bus. That's amazing. That was like super. You can't beat that. You just can't. You can't beat that. I feel like I stand resolute in my statement of I've made it currently, because there's not much in life I want that I don't have. Maybe a little bit less debt right now, but like other than that, I feel very content right now. But I'll tell you what, get my little AAA tour book and seeing Tulips going through the Dutch countryside and being like, holy crap, I'm here and I get to play drums, and all the subsequent tours that follow that. That was amazeballs.
What was the one you said earlier? You're like, then I'm in Good Riddance, and did I get to go to Australia and this other place? No. Like, it sounded like that was a story in itself.
Yeah, that's like, so if we flash forward to the end of Good Riddance, right? We did the 2 records, and then we had done a substantial amount of touring. And when Good Riddance, I think it was either Chuck got a more steady job working for Bell Giro, the bicycle helmet company, or Luke had started to go back to school a little bit. So there was a bit of a shift, right? Because obviously Good Riddance had, maybe not obviously, for those of you that don't know, listen, children, for those of you that don't know, Good Riddance was, they were already doing it before I joined the band, right? And some might say that their best records were I don't know, Operation Phoenix, maybe before that, maybe it's the other one with Fertile Fields on it. I don't know, whatever. So their lives have shifted a little bit somewhere in like 2002, maybe it was 3. And so that's when I started, instead of going back to a day job straight away, I had Painted Black started, was doing a little bit of Number One Black, and then I started working for Jade Tree, and then so I had, that was my plate. So because of the tectonic plates shifted a little bit, I kind of had to decide. I think I was working at Jade Tree at the time, doing production, right? Like helping release records, get merchandise together, whatever I was doing. Had Painted Black, had Good Riddance, Number Black, and had to do, the opportunity came along for Good Riddance to tour Australia and New Zealand. But at the time, we either just finished recording or were writing the, what is that Number Black record I played on? Is that called Loud About Loathing? The EP.
Let me see.
The EP doesn't matter.
Yeah,
really,
Loud About
but,
Loathing is the CD EP.
Yeah, Loud About Loathing.
Yeah.
Yep. So we were doing that, and to take it back to Jason left Kid Dynamite, but then he started Number Black. Like Number Black was just a band that he was doing, with friends, that then became something that Fat put out, and people, they weren't like touring the world at the time, but it was like Fat took an opportunity to put out a really good record from this singer Kid Dynamite. And Jason's not just defined by that. I don't mean it to sound like that, right? But like on the surface, it could look like, why did he leave this band if he didn't want to do music? And now he's doing this band. I just felt like, because he's so creative and his output is just so natural, he just kept on doing it. And then subsequently, a label that people tend to recognize put out the Number Black stuff. So I was thinking in my head, well, got the Painted Black's dance profesh, Painted Black is a limited venture, if you will. We're still going to play, and this is a living and breathing thing. Good Riddance wasn't paying the bills anymore, if you will, for me at the time. And so I had to decide, I have this job, this Jade Tree job. Do I leave my job? If I took time off, do I give it to Number Black? Because Number Black could be, you want to talk about like, oh, you quit this band and then other guys make Midtown and go on to do this, and then you're left with nothing. Like I was at that stage where I'm like, well, which path is the path do I take and why? That's a big regret in my life, that I didn't be like, yeah, Australia, New Zealand, fuck yeah. I think that might be the first curse word I dropped on your podcast, and I don't know if that's okay, but what?
You could swear as much as you fucking want. It's
it's funny because I've been consciously using other words, and
yeah, I've noticed
I do
that.
a lot of, I do a lot of calls in my job, because so much of my job is virtual now, and so I recognize that I'm not at work, but my brain just says, when I have these headphones on, it's like the don't swear headphones. I'm wearing my work headphones right now. So anyway, fuck it.
Yeah, I test the waters really early with my clients. I'll like drop like an F-bomb or say shit in like the first meeting or something. They're like, okay, cool, we're gonna like work with you. I'm like, yeah, this is the way it's gonna be.
Yeah. I didn't think to ask. I don't know the rules. I have another funny podcast story for the first one I did, but anyway, I digress. Time to make a decision. I'm at this multi-fork in the road, and I decided to put my eggs in the Number Black basket, because I thought, man, I love what we're doing. I don't know if this was before or after we did some dates with Dillinger 4. I was like, those guys, my guys, like, let's just, sorry, Good Riddance, I can't do that because I didn't see a future in the band, right? Because we had slowed down so much. And one of my worries was financial at the time. And of course, Good Riddance goes over there. They have a great time. They make a bang up. They make a bang up on the cash. And then I'm not Number Black anymore. And I'm like, guess I picked the wrong, you know what I mean? I guess I got the short straw on that one. Like, I chose the short straw on that one.
Wait, so were you kicked out of No More Black?
Well, are you going to say it like that? I mean, we've been taking this whole podcast using gentler words.
I mean, they dropped you off at a curb. Like,
so, speaking of Hello Bastards and how difficult it was to listen to and process that record, like the Number Black one, that was a tough one for me too, because if I recall it right, I was put in a situation, whether I was put in a situation to choose or the decision was made for me, it was like, hey, this member or this member, right? And I feel like it's taken me a long time, and only recently I can now engage with all members of that band as friends again. right?
Mm.
Because well, I mean, at the time, like, it was a big thing for me. I thought I misunderstood the trajectory of the band and thought I'm going to sink everything into this and skip Australia and New Zealand and skip all this other stuff for this band. And then it became this guy doesn't want to do the band if you're in it
Oh shit.
kind of thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it was, oh, you know what I mean? And that was somebody who I have been doing other music with too for quite some time. And I guess that's why this person didn't want to do this with me, because of my approach, my business hat, maybe, right? My like hard riding business hat,
Yeah.
where it should just be more of a fun thing. And so that's why I say I will go back again to say with Cross Keys, I've made it because there are no like decisions that are interfering with the love of making and connecting through music. I'm just doing it, and there's no pressure, and there's no, for me at least. I know some of the guys have put up some of the money for a record, you know what I mean? And I love and appreciate them for that. But like, I'm not, all I got to do is play the drums. And that's great.
Do you think that if you weren't so business in Kid Dynamite, that the band would have lasted longer? Or and there's two ways to think about this. Like your approach didn't sit well with like Jason in that band, and because he was like, it was just too much. You were like, go, go, go. Do you think that if you weren't that way, or you weren't doing the business, the band would have survived and kept going? Or do you think you had to do that and that kept the band going?
Kid Dynamite?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking, because with the No More Black, I as you bring it up, and I've probably thought about this in the past, how much of that experience informed my experience in No More Black and my ultimate departure from that band, right? See, we say departure from the band versus dropping off on Sunset Boulevard. Yeah, getting kicked out, whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean,
Yes and
you can
no.
guess. You can just guess. I mean, you're never going to know
Yeah,
the answer.
yeah. I mean, I guess what would have been ideal was find a cost-effective way to have somebody else do it. Because as much as I love, are you familiar with the DISC assessment?
Yeah, I'm a high I.
Oh, you're a high I. Okay, well, I used to be a D with a high I, and shocker.
Yeah, the two go very well. It's kind of like if someone calls you out of the blue, you're like, get to the fucking point. It's like yes,
Yeah,
no, that's a D. But in this
yeah.
situation, you're definitely a high I because it's just like you talk, which is the best thing for a podcast interview.
Well, so I used to be a D with a high I. It's funny now because now I show more C tendencies
Hmm.
over the years, and so I've done a DISC assessment twice, right? Once years ago, and then once just recently. And I just went, and then we went through a whole whatever. We did a class with my current team with the DISC, and I was like, yeah, I was surprised to go D high I. Now I'm D, like borderline DC. They usually say that there's like a life event that can do a shift, of that. And I was like, well, what is my life event? Is it having kids? Is it the different bands? What is it? But yeah, I love setting it up and knocking it down. I love setting it up and being like, here's the mission and we're going to accomplish it. So in Kid Dynamite, I didn't have the perspective to be like, I need to do this a different way to make everybody happy. Like, I wasn't thinking about situational leadership or what everybody else's letter was, right? I was just driven to do the thing. And yeah, maybe it would have lasted, maybe it wouldn't have. I would have loved to have seen it if we could have had an ally who helped us with all the stuff and pushed it. If we could have agreed upon, the four of us, this is what we're willing to sacrifice, or this is what we're willing to put in to the mix. Ultimately, I don't think, all right, the short answer is no, because I think where I wanted to take it, where Dan could have taken it, and where Jason was at in his life, I don't think it would have worked out. Spider, bless him, I think he would have. He's always in. He's always up for it, whatever it was. And so, if we would have had to put a limit or a cap on what we did because of the balance, right? The balance of the four of us, maybe that would have worked. I don't know. I was probably still like a total maniac at that time, and probably maybe wanted to do something else. Maybe not. Kid Dynamite was the world when we were doing it. So it's hard to think about what else we could have done, or if we could have, thinking of the Descendants here, like gave it a limiter, like a little bit of a limiter to say, well, you have a professional, you have a student, you have a journalist, and you have a madman. Like, where is this going? Happy to say that we didn't overextend our welcome as far as material, right? I look back on the whole catalog and I say, yeah, strong, good shows, good stuff.
And you guys can get together and play. It's still. When's the last time you guys did a reunion?
The last Kid Dynamite shows ever were This Is Hardcore and the House of Vans, and I want to say that was in. I have no concept of time at this point in time. Here, there's a sweatshirt right. Here's this sweatshirt right in front of me, and it says, "Almost all grudges." Kid Dynamite, almost all grudges forgotten. 97 to 2010. So that might have been the second time we played at the church. I think I want to say it's like 2015.
6 years ago, Hate56 has a video of you guys, August 8th, 2013, at the Electric Factory.
And that was at the Electric Factory. That was 2013.
Yeah.
Dude, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah. And the fact
Holy
that you got
moly.
the Hate56 guy, he does great video footage. So
Oh yeah,
amazing.
Sonny.
Oh wait, no. Oh wait, yeah. Okay. Yep.
So that was a deck. Wow, it's coming up. This is coming up on 10 years since we played. We played This Is Hardcore, which was amazing. That 2-camera video is. My kids saw that once on the, it was like YouTube on the TV, and they're like, "You're on television." I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, it's not 3, 6, and 10. It's not. They're not like it's 20 whatever it was at the time. But yeah, we played that, and then the next day or the next weekend or something, maybe it was the next day, I don't remember, we played that House of Vans show with Title Fight and Red, Jason from Swizz's band, not Red Dragon. Anyway, just talking about how amazing that band was the other day. Sean and Jay from Swizz and Dag Nasty played that show. Anyway, we played those 2 shows, and that was it. And we closed it down. I think we announced that we were done playing domestically. We had a goal to go and play England. No, wait a minute. Didn't we play Gross Rock after that?
I mean, I'm just going based on what's on YouTube right now.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. We played a festival in Europe, and we played a show in Europe. I'm interested to see I guess long story long is any offer or thought of playing since then has just generally been met by like, not no, but like no.
Is that because like when you guys did that show, did the 4 of you kind of get back in your old ways as like a group?
Oh, you mean like business and Bandad and all that stuff? No, it was not to my knowledge at least, but then again I feel like I'm more self-aware than I ever am, but no, it was we kind of wanted to, for whatever reason, we felt like we wanted to just kind of put a pin in it. And at least like, it was like, what else can we do domestically? Now this almost sounds like business. This is like business habit. Just wasn't me really. This is like collectively we thought, what else can we do domestically that we haven't already done? We played the house, we played the truck, we played the Electric Factory, we played. It is fun, but a couple of us have kids. We're parents. We're going through that. Careers, other music, other band. Have you heard Jason's band Former Member? God, I love that thing.
Someone sent it to me, and he's like, "You got to check this out." And I heard that one song where it's like a pirate or something, a ship or some shit. I forget the name of it. It was like I was like, "This is awesome," and then I kind of started listening to what he's singing about, and it seems like it's kind of like fantasy. Am I just not getting it right?
I don't know what all of his lyrical content are about, but I love it because he'll be the first to admit, he's like, I wanted to do a band that I couldn't do live. I wanted to create music that won't be reproduced live. Like, I'm not interested in taking that band to the stage. This is just music that I'm doing, and it's so great.
I take that.
Yeah, and so I feel like
Del Bog.
I have somebody visiting me. One moment, please.
Yeah.
Yes, my dear. Well, I can be. What's going on? Oh, what are we having for food? Mommy made pancakes?
She made pancakes, and there's strawberries. And...
You guys have breakfast. I'll be down in a bit. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun right now. Let me ask you this. Let me ask Madeline. Madeline, could we eat lunch at 1 o'clock? Does everybody have 20 minutes left for their father? It would be more of a brunch then. 1 o'clock is brunch time. This is not, 12:41 is no time to eat any food. I can't do it.
I haven't eaten anything.
I will be available at 1 o'clock to join the family brunch. Oh, the 10-year-old is here, and she is not looking happy at all. There is an absolute riot. You had chocolate cereal in the morning. What happened to your face? Did you fall on your face while you were roller skating?
This is fucking gold.
That's pancake batter. Okay, that's not a. All right, I'll be down by 1. It looks like we played Gross Rock in 2013, so I'm guessing it's been a decade now since we performed, and there's been a couple of every now and then there's like chatter, right? Michael and I are like, "Yep, we'll do it," and Dan's like, because he's got Open City, and now he's doing Bitter Branches, and he's a doctor, and so is his wife, and he's got 2. You know what I mean? Like everybody's just got. None of this is meant to say there's one person in the band that's keeping us from playing. It's just that life. It's just not there anymore, and I think others might be content with just like, hey, we did it. We got to Europe. We played an amazing festival. We played an amazing club show. We played with Rocket from the Crypt when we went over there.
That's dope.
Oh my God. And we played with an amazing band. I can't even pronounce it. ASTPAI. ASTPAI. Don't sleep on that. I don't know if they're still active. I think one of the guys is now in, is it Muncie Girls? Anyway, we played this amazing club show with Rocket from the Crypt, Smoker Fire, this other band who's I can't pronounce, but they're amazing. And that was that. And that was Kid Dynamite. And I don't think we'll ever play again. For a while there, Jason's voice was not in a good space. Like for the former member stuff, I think he was having trouble with it. He's having trouble with his
Well, I mean, singing all throat, you know.
Yeah. I think he was having his body basically said, it's like my back. His voice became what my back is, which was like, you should be really careful when you pick up any equipment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You should be very careful when you pick up a microphone. So I'll never say that the door is closed, because if someone said, hey, there's a Kid Dynamite show offer, I would just say yes, because that's me. I'd be like, hell yeah, that would be a blast. And as long as I can make it work with all the rest of my life, then great, I would do it. No problem.
So since we're like pressed for time, we got like 15 minutes left. The last 2 questions are usually kind of short, but the last one could get a couple minutes to answer sometimes. But I mean, I could ask you like so many more fucking questions. This is so great. But it's because this one's gonna come out in like 2 weeks. Even though your singer introduced us through the email, and he's like, "Can we hold off to March?" I was like, "I don't really have that luxury."
Andrew, he's band dad. Andrew's band dad. He's marketing the new record. He wants it to come out near May when our record's coming out. So
yeah, I was like, I can't. I'm not promising anything.
That's
bro,
fine. It's all
probably
good.
Not gonna happen.
You can always just say, hey, check this out.
There's one question I want to ask, but I feel like it'd be lengthy in an answer.
That's fine.
When you were in Paint It Black and No More Black, was there like a weird thing from Dan and Jason being like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
No. That's not that I recall at all.
Yeah, that I just had to know. Like, I was like, I wonder. I'm sure the answer is no, but I had to know just an answer if they were like, "Why are you playing with him?"
Did we play together? No. Did we collaborate on music together? The 2 bands? No. But yeah, no, it wasn't a. Not that I recall. It wasn't a thing.
Is there a story that you've never told before in an interview that you can tell now?
Oh, geez. I have a very selective memory. So when you get me rolling, sometimes, like today, it all kind of comes flooding back, right? You're in the zone. You're feeling 92, 93. Here I am, 98. I'm like living in the moment. I don't know if I could answer that, because I don't know how many interviews I've ever really done. And it's funny because I'm not sure how much shit talking I did on the Kid Dynamite DVD versus like Dave and Colin doing, you know what I mean? Being the hijinks, telling the stories. I don't know.
It's a loaded question because you all of a sudden it's like decades come back in your brain. You're like,
yeah. One of my favorite tour trips ever. We played the West Edmonton Mall, Or no, we didn't play the mall. Forgive me. It was Kid Dynamite. Oh Lord, now my brain's gonna explode. Good Riddance was touring Western Canada, and I just have this vivid memory of we played Edmonton, and it was either the day before or the day after the show. We always took an extra day off, so we'd go to the West Edmonton Mall and play in the water park. It's a huge indoor water park in West Edmonton in the mall. And then I can recall just being so battered and bruised. I think it was the day before the show. I had run up and down the stairs on these water slides so much that I wasn't sure how I was even going to play the next day. And I could picture myself and Mario. Mario was like our North Star roadie merch guy. So me and Razor are sitting in the RV and we're eating chili after just an exhaustive day at the water park. And I don't know if that's on the same tour or another tour that we used to have really aggressive games of Uno. Super aggressive. And our sound guy on the tour at the time, Simon, he wore like cop aviator glasses, like reflective aviator glasses, but he wore them while he played cards like a dum-dum. So we would actually be able to see what his hand was. We went the whole tour and never told him that he's basically, you know what I mean? Like we were like super like inappropriately aggressive at Uno in this RV. And so those are my two RV stories. I flash back to eating chili after my feet were like near bloodied from water park steps. And then I can clearly see in the same, well, we rented the same kind of RV all the same time. So it may have been even a different freaking tour, but I can see the reflected image of his Uno cards. And it took till the end of the tour. And then we finally like, can I borrow your glasses? And like, we put them on and then held the cards up and he looked over at the table and was just like, there was no money involved. We weren't like that kind of betting, but it was more like who got to insult the other person the most for how bad their Uno scores were. I don't know. Those are my stories. I don't know if I've told them, but they're probably the most near and dear to my heart as far as non-music related road stories. So
I think the one thing I'm visualizing is, do you ever see Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
It's been a minute, but yes.
You know when they bring Napoleon to the water park and he just loses his mind and just like has the best day ever?
I mean, that's
I'm literally picturing this just like total tatted up guy running up and down like a child, like doing water slides, having the happiest day of his life.
Like I don't think I elbowed smaller children out of the way to get to the top of the slide first. I think I was very respectful. I want to believe I was, but that's a possibility, right? There's a version of that story where I'm like, you're moving too slow, kid. You know what I mean? Out of my way. I got to go down this slide for the 18th time because, bus call is in 2 hours or whatever it is. So
that's great.
Yeah. Simpler days back then.
All right, man. So last two questions before I ask the last one. What would you like to plug? It could be about you. It could be about a friend. It could be about both.
Oh, man.
I mean, obviously your band. You should plug that again.
I should. I want to talk sports, but Liverpool stinks these days. No. And everybody in my band's super excited for 3:00 Eastern time today because there's American football being played.
Can I just tell you how much I hate the Eagles?
Are you a sports fan?
Yeah, I'm going to watch the game like right down the block. There's a bar, and my friend's wife is a huge 49ers fan, even though she grew up in Hickory, North Carolina.
Huh.
And she'll be yelling at the TV. And I'm from Jersey, Giants, don't like the Jets, and Eagles. You guys just burn your city down when you win. It's scary.
I read what's the first thing I read this morning was the article about the city preparation. The language that they use in the article is fantastic because they talk about potential closures, right? And so,
God.
So right, like you said, if you win, when you win. So the greasing of the poles, the light poles, and then I think they're closing downtown from Lombard, which is just south of South Street. So basically the entire Center City District, which is like Lombard to Race Street, 8th Street to 20th. The entire Center City area will have no traffic potentially at 6:00 tonight. Like they just close it to traffic. And then of course there's the South Philly ones. I grew up in Detroit. I've always been a Lions fan. We suffered so long that I gravitated away from American football, I guess, and then found the beautiful game, if you will. And I follow English football currently, which was one of the highlights of my first European tour, which was the only reason I have Liverpool as a team is because my bus driver was a Scouser. And I asked him, what team should I follow? And he's like, there's only one team in the world, mate. And I was like, okay, cool. A plug for Liverpool, but, disgraced this season. Anyway, and I rooted for the Bengals against the 49ers in Super Bowl 16 because I I grew up in Detroit. They came to the Pontiac Silverdome way back when. Of course, 49ers won, so I've always been bitter. I've never been a 49ers fan, but I'll be happy for the city as long as if they win and they don't burn the place down, right? Like, I still want a city when it's done. Like,
yeah,
I need.
you won't. You won't have fun.
And so, yeah, I'll make a plug for Cross Keys. Cross Keys is the band I've been doing for the last 5 years with my good friends. We have our second release that I'm in. We released a 7-song, 12-inch a couple years back and now we're quasi self-releasing in it with the help from 2 other labels, a full length. It's called Cross Keys Believes in You. It's got 10 songs on it. A scant, 25, 30 minutes or something like that. Maybe comes in a little bit less. I don't know. I got to record it a couple blocks from my house at an amazing studio with Dave and Andy, who are amazing people. We did the vocals with Brian McTurnan, which is really cool. And my friend Steve Evans, who just relocated back from California to Newark. Steve mixed the record. When I listen to it, I'm hard pressed to find a record that sounds better than I've ever played on. And maybe it's recency bias or just listening to the tones and how it all kind of came together through the collaboration of working with the Retro City guys. Andy does live sound for the Wonder Years. Dave Kleiman plays in restorations. So like these are guys that know their music, know their instruments. They really helped us take their songs to the next level. Brian pushed Josh is our vocalist, Josh Alvarez, to his full potential. And Steve brought it all home with like this amazing, amazing mix. And I still pinch myself when I listen to it. I'm like, I'm 51, married with 3 kids, full-time job, and I have this piece of art that not only am I so pleased with that I think other people will enjoy it too, right? I'll put a smile on somebody's face listening to it. Hopefully the lyrics are beautiful. It's been a tough couple of years, right? So I'm just really stoked. I'm pretty sure it's coming out May 5th, which may be the same day that we play the Sing Us Home Festival, which is Dave House. He's curating music festival in Manayunk for the first time ever with the Drive-By Truckers and Dave and the Mermaids and some other bands. And we're getting Cat Bites playing it, and we get an opportunity to play one of the days, which is really fun. And so it might be the first time my kids actually see me play drums live, because that's not why they go to the First Unitarian Church.
Yeah, they're taking school.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, actually, and it's a joint release between Creep Records and your guitarist label Dead Satellite Records. So I actually interviewed
Dead Satellite. Yep.
Yeah, I interviewed Eric like way in the beginning of this podcast. It was a lot of Philly bands, so that's cool.
Yeah, there's a third label involved, which is why, and I'm something Hearts. If I'm not mistaken, it's I'm gonna sound like a fool. I want to talk about a moron. If I'm not mistaken, the guitarist for Tsunami Bomb has a record label, and the 3 labels are coming together to release it. I think the Dead Satellite is doing the digital release, and Creep is pairing with this other label, Something Heart. I'm sorry, I'm not band dad right now. I'm pleased to, you know what? I'm happy to say I don't know the name of it, because
you've come a long way.
Because I feel grateful that someone's interested in helping out, and don't take that. That shouldn't be an insult to say I just don't know, because I just play the drums and I love it. I love just playing the drums in this band. I really do.
It sounds it, man.
Yeah, man.
Cool, dude. All right, last question. What scene ethics do you hold on to this day?
Ooh, scene ethics. If somebody stage dives, you got to catch them. No, I'm kidding. I'm just making a plug for Middlesex County College in 90. Yeah, for my friggin' back of my skull. Thanks you very little. Okay. Kid Dynamite carried the banner for this. I think really strong, really loud, and really proud, right? We play a violent music, but I do not like a violent environment. And so I like to have fun and play. I like to hear music, both aggressive and non. I like to do it with my friends, and I like to have fun. And anything that interferes with that, that's a bummer. I'm not on board. I've never been on board with violence within our scene. It's just not me. It's not who I am. And most of the people that I know and hold near and dear to my heart I think are of the same ilk. So positivity and friendship. I think those things will last. Those things will last a lifetime. Pun not intended. So